Welcome back everyone. In this video we'll be going through the Ichimoku indicator, and I'll be showing you how to build your own Ichimoku bot in cTrader. In Japanese, Ichimoku translates to one look, meaning traders only have to take one look at a chart to determine momentum, support and resistance. If you want to learn how to trade using the Ichimoku, you can check out a fellow YouTuber's channel called Japanese Forex Trader K, who has some excellent materials on using this indicator. You can also join the conversation in the Discord server, where there's a dedicated channel to discuss this indicator. Here's what the Ichimoku looks like when you put it on a chart. It contains 5 lines, so it might seem a bit intimidating at first. But let me quickly break down each of the lines for you. The first line is the Tenkan Sen, and this is simply the average of the highest high and the lowest low of the previous 9 bars. If you're familiar with the Donchian channel, then the Tenkan Sen is basically the middle line of the 9-period Donchian, because it's calculated in exactly the same way. The second line in the Ichimoku is the Kijun Sen, and it's exactly the same as the Tenkan Sen except with a longer period of 26 periods. And we can confirm that it matches the middle line of the 26 period Donchian channel. One common entry signal is the Tenkan and Kijun Sen cross, so you get a long signal when the Tenkan Sen crosses above the Kijun Sen and vice versa. And I'll be showing you how to backtest this a bit later in the video. Let's move on to the third line now, which is the Chikou span. This line is pretty straightforward and it just shows the closing price shifted back 26 periods. And you can see that pretty clearly when you change the chart type to a line chart. This line basically acts as a visual aid for determining the trend over the last 26 bars. From a coding perspective though, we don't actually need to use this line because we can just reference the close price from 26 periods ago. Let's move on to the next line, which is the Senko span A. It's calculated based on the Tenkan Sen and the Kijun Sen. So it takes the middle of the 2 lines and shifts them into the future by 26 periods. The final line is the Senko span B, and this line is basically the same as the Kijun Sen and Tenkan Sen, except it uses a period of 52 periods and is also shifted forward into the future by 26 periods. And we can verify that using the 52 period Donchian and shifting that forward by 26 periods. Together with the Senko span A, these 2 lines form the cloud of the Ichimoku. And another common entry signal is the cloud breakout, which I'll also be going through later in the video. The third entry signal I'll be going through is taking a long signal when the Senko span B is rising and vice versa. This entry signal is basically the same as the breakout of the 52 period high or low. Because remember, the Senko span B is just the 52 period Donchian, and the line will be rising when it makes a new 52 period high and falling when it makes a new 52 period low. Okay, with that, let's head over and code up the bot. I'll be starting with the NNFX bot template again, which you can grab from the Discord server, and you can find the link to the Discord in the description below. I'll just make a copy of the template and call it Ichimoku bot. The first thing we need to do is create the Ichimoku indicator variable. And I'll just name the variable Ichi. Then we need to load the indicator in the onStart section using ichi equals indicators.ichimoku, and I'll just use the default parameters of 9, 26 and 52. Then in the onTick section, I'll be creating a few variables for each of the lines. So I'll create a variable for the Tenkan, Kijun, Senko A, Senko B and Chikou. By declaring the lines as variables in this way, it allows us to use some convenience functions in cTrader. So now for the first entry signal of the Tenkan Sen Kijun Sen cross, we can now use if Tenkan dot has crossed above and then in brackets Kijun, 0 to check for the cross on the current bar, then open a long trade. Else if Tenkan has crossed below the Kijun, then open a short trade. And that's it. Now we can build it, add an instance and see how it performs in the backtest. Let's run it on visual mode first to verify that it's doing exactly what we want. So here the blue line is the Tenkan Sen and the red line is the Kijun Sen, and we're waiting for the blue to cross above the red line. So there's the long signal that immediately got stopped out, and then the subsequent short signal which hit the take profit. So it looks like it's working properly. Now let's see how it did in the last 5 years. And it actually does a decent job, which is a good sign. Now let's move on to the second type of entry, which is the cloud breakout. This one is slightly trickier given how the upper part of the cloud flips between the Senko span A and B, and also given how the Senko span A and B are shifted forward by 26 periods. So for this one I'm going to create a new variable called cloud upper, and I'm going to use the math.max function to get the maximum value of the Senko span A and Senko span B of 26 periods ago. And I'll create one for the cloud lower as well using the math.min function. And finally I'm going to create a variable for the last price to keep our code cleaner. A common variation of the Tenkan-sen Kijun-sen cross is to only take long signals when the price is above the cloud. And now that we have these new variables, we can simply add a new condition to check that price is greater than the cloud upper. And you can test all sorts of different combinations of these rules, but in general, the more rules you add, the less trades you'll get. And you can see that adding this one condition halved our number of trades. Let's code up the third entry signal now, and that's taking a signal when the Senko B is rising or falling. And this is really simple because you can use the function if Senko B dot is rising, as well as if Senko B is falling. Let's build it to test it out, and you'll find that it also does a decent job on its own. The power of the Ichimoku is when you start to combine some of these entry signals and use them on multiple time frames. That's when you can really start to increase the hit rate of your entries. I encourage you to have a play around with the different combinations, and I'll be covering multiple time frames in the next video.